What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another edition of the NXT Watch Party. I think for the time being, it's probably just going to be me solo. Tyler could be on. Like I said, Tyler is definitely 50-50 because he's dealing with some stomach problems. So he may or may not be on. So that being said, you're probably going to just have me solo for obviously the good 2 hours. But that being said, what is going on, Daniel Barry? Like I said, unfortunately, Ghoulie can't, which still kind of irks my soul that Ghoulies area can't get the fucking damn and over the CW. But what's going on, Prestige? But at the same time, too, what else? I had another thought in my head and just completely escaped my brain at the moment. Oh, right. We'll be live again tomorrow for AW Dynamite. And also Thursday is the official debut of TNA Impact on AMC. Me and Tyler will be live for that. And yes, Ghoulies I might have to talk to Ghoulie about that too, but I don't think Ghoulies more that familiar with TNA. Like I said, I'll talk to Ghoulie that about that as well. Currently we're looking at what happened last week on New Year's Evil. Which I thought was a pretty decent show for what it was. And kind of Thea was talked about. Yeah, I mean, she did kind of say, I wasn't really was supposed to win this. I mean, even she knew like shit went wrong, and Blake went wrong, went off a rampage. For those who did watch it, then we're also going to figure out what's next for Obafemi, which apparently from what it's seeing from what happened last week was him put on a really banger with Leon Slayer. Can't really nothing completes there, but it's him vacating the NXT Championship, which I believe I don't know what Ava is going to address it. But is possible that we already know that Obafemi is already going to the main roster. The question is he going to go to Raw or is he going to go to SmackDown? To me, I think he fits the Raw brand better because, I do think they need some I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to him being on SmackDown either at the same time. I would say the men's division, you could say the men's division could use a guy like Obafemi, and shit like that. But that all being said, that's how I look. And there's obviously gonna be some other things too. Not just pro wrestling related, but also sports related as well. Like I said, I'll be doing a couple of videos here and there. One in particular, reacting to the Kevin Patullo firing. That's gonna come sometime this week. Or maybe I might do a live on that. I'm not entirely too fucking sure. For the most part. And kind of just talk Eagles football for, either like 5-10 minutes. Hell, even throw in or do a live for about like an hour 20 minutes, give or take. That all being said, if you guys are new, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, to ring that notification bell for all post notifications so you guys will not miss myself, Tyler, Ghoulie, my girl Meat, or as she knows it goes by Tokyo nowadays. So you guys will not miss Ryan, and that's another thing too, which I'll talk about regarding TNA because I know, but yeah, so yeah. That is true, and obviously got some guys from NXT, not NXT, from fucking Evolve. Which, to be fair, I had not been keeping up with Evolve in recent weeks because, granted, it is also taped, and at the same time, me and Tara kind of really don't pay attention to Evolve except for mostly for the women's side of things. And I'll be honest, the only one I know that had done pretty well. And now we got Ricky. And now here comes Ricky Saints. I'm going to see what he's got to have to fucking say about this. So this should be interesting. Nothing, guys. But To bring it back of what Ryan said, yes, I'm ready for TNA, and that's probably you haven't really seen me and Tyler have done TNA. I always think the last God, almost the entire calendar year because of the issues that Access TV brings. Two, when we did try to do TNA a couple of times, I would say this is way before they got the AMC deal. We tried illegally streaming it. It was, I guess you could say, it was a disaster from the very beginning. I think the only time we're going to have to do something where we may not do, well, we'll still do TNA pay per views, we're going to have to do the most unorthodox way of doing things. But Prestige, here's the one thing we already knew it was coming, but it was just only a matter of time. Even though I would have liked to do it a little bit sooner, but hey, better late than never. Same with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, the fact you had their head coach stepping down, but that's also crazy in its whole right that it freaking hell froze over in Pittsburgh. But yeah. So, well, like I said, I'll talk more on that later sometime this week. Yeah, that is true. Well, not just cost us a championship prestige. For the most part, like he pretty much handcuffed the quarterback. He pretty much set everybody back. Everyone took a step back. And that's one part of it. Then you have a bunch of injuries on the offensive line. That didn't help. Guys playing through injuries, which I mean, credit their toughness, but at the same time, it kind of bit this team in the ass, so to speak. Anyways, I'll talk more on that right on the commercial break as well. That is true. Oh shit. Okay, 6 land. Hmm. Okay, so next week we got the qualifying match for the ladder match. Interesting. And damn, now we got all hell breaking loose in and out of the ring, as we are not that far into to open up NXT for the most part. Man, Keanu, damn, I forgot how big Keanu Carter is. Yeah, pretty much. And there goes the Vanity Project out to the floor. And they got Jasper Troy and Tavion Heights going at it. And Booker, I swear to God, move your damn Candy Dashy. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, damn. Kind of with the elbow. And then we got military press to the outside. Take out the rest of the men's division down on the floor. Yeah, Keanu Carter. Yeah, and freaking Ricky Saints looking like he's surprised. So I mean, yeah. And that is true. I mean, that also kind of does help with Evolve, especially with all the men and women coming through Evolve and coming into the NXT. At some point, too, like we're going to be some other departures. I mean, Rick Saints going to be another one that's going to be getting called up, hopefully soon. And I think this is going to be the perfect opportunity to, and same with Blake Monroe, too. You also make the same thing with her. And it's going to be a matter of time before both Ricky Saints and Blake Monroe get to the main roster, depending where they go. And that's where you can start focusing on the future of the company. Going through LFG, Evolve, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Look, most of us Eagles Nation, I will say, we are freaking happy for that team because A, he should never been in that position to begin with. B, knowing he was, and the fact that it had to take Nick Sirianni to realize that, okay, I fucked up, in a statement earlier today, letting Kevin Patullo say, or just, flat out firing Kevin Patullo because, let's be real, the ownership and Howard Roseman was not happy how the season went. And especially the fact you completely fucking shit the bed in the NFC wildcard against the 49ers. That didn't help either. But at the same time, it's one of those things. It's like something has to give. Now, I will say, if Nick can find a way, in a sense, like say, the only thing, look, I was one of the very few to not really support the Nick Sirianni type of hiring. Now, did I hate it? Probably not. But at the same time, he kind of gives us that big ego crap, which we have seen over the years. And to my, like I said, I don't see that to my disdain. The thing is, too, it's like the fact that you still haven't learned your lesson from what you did in 2023. And it really like this franchise, I could say you could make an argument it could have had two, technically three champions. No. Against the Chiefs. Yeah. So yeah, you could at least have two or three more championships. In that manner. The problem is Nick Sirianni is not that great of a play caller, and we have seen that kind of really work against him. I would say when he first came in 2021 as the primary play caller. And also, yes, brought Shane Steichen with them, which coming to find out is one of the better hires that we had in a hot minute. Played to everyone's strength. Jalen Hurts was an MVP candidate, was a runner-up to Patrick Mahomes and all that stuff because unfortunately Hurts got literally got hurt, and I think towards the end of the year and kind of really hurt his chance to become the MVP. But at the same time, he also had Mahomes put, I think, 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021. So I know someone's going to correct me in the chat on that because I can't remember the stats on the top of my head for the most part. And then we really look at the fact that the defensive coordinator position wasn't really the greatest in terms of what we had. I mean, it's better than what we had in Desai and fucking Jonathan Gannon, which, good fucking God. And now we have Tony D'Angelo stalking and backstage. But anyways, we're going to kick off one of the first women's matches of the night. Claudia Jordan and Lola Vice. That's kind of stand back, like I said, from last week in that locker room segment. It seems like both Kalani. Yeah, so it seems like both Kalani and Lola kind of, let's say it wasn't, compared to what happened 3 weeks ago. And that's when he had Tatum Paxley chase everyone with the chainsaw. to be honest, Ryan, I'm going to say this. I'm not excited for WrestleMania because I have a feeling the show is, I mean, it's going to have some good matches, but it's not going to be to the point of where it needs to be. But the fact that it's back in Vegas again this year is absolute asinine because the fact that, it's CKO, they need to make that money to get out of this fucking death ring. But, I mean, who am I to say? Like I said, I think the only one that's going to freaking kill it on WrestleMania weekend is probably the women. And I guess some of the men too, in my honest opinion, because let's be real, I don't know. It's just something about WrestleMania this year doesn't get me too excited. And WWE has this tendency to where like you can do all the building in the world or lack thereof, which we saw like the previous WrestleMania that they haven't really done much building, and you could really tell it doesn't translate into the payoffs of which of the stories you're supposed to we're building towards WrestleMania, the stories that you were telling. But I just feel like freaking WrestleMania this year is going to be okay, in my honest opinion, because let's be real, I'd say I'm not going to hate WrestleMania for the most part, but I will say there is going to be some questions. Well, like I said, until what kind of execution that this company is going to do for WrestleMania, we're going to have to wait and see. Bam. Nice little couple chops by Lola Vice. Off the second row. Nice deep arm drag. Nice little clothesline to the gut. Then a shoulder tackle. What's going on, Janelle? Roll up by Kalani. 1, 2. No. Kick out of 2. Ducks the clothesline. Kalani dropping down. There's the leapfrog showing that athleticism. Misses with the spinning round. Nice little leg sweep. But yeah. And now Lola goes second face first in the second turnbuckle. And now we're looking back at the calling. And Izzy Dame, the new women's North American champion. Yeah, a lot of crazy shit has been happening when it comes to around with Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, the calling. And Tyler here, Tyler to test this too. We kind of knew. All right, John, I will say this before I get back to calling the match. I hope I will still have love and respect for my Philadelphia Eagles. Because I still have hopes that this franchise can be a dynasty. The problem is, like, this franchise is not doing really a good job. Anytime when we do have success, we have to freaking not protect our coordinator, especially our offense coordinator, because let's be real, Vic's not going anywhere because he doesn't want to be fucking head coach no more, because we saw, I mean, he was okay, but I mean, at the same time, like, he's more comfortable being the coordinator. But to answer your second part, we're going to have a 6-man ladder match on February 3rd to determine the new NXT champion, with Oba Femi getting his main roster call up. The question is going to be remaining, where does Oba go, Raw or SmackDown? So, and obviously next week we'll start the qualifying matches for that said ladder match, going into, because that ladder match will be taking place on February 3rd, which I don't know. I'm gonna have to see. I don't know if I got to see their pay-per-view schedule, because I don't know if it's been a hot minute since fucking NXT did a pay-per-view. I'm gonna be quite honest. The thing is, too, I say, I know Tyler probably say the same thing, but for whatever reason, I kind of feel like they're going to put him on SmackDown. But I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. To be honest, to really answer that, John L., I have no absolute idea. However, though, I do think it's actually nice. See, and this is one of the reasons why, look, I know Triple H, I know, hasn't really done, he's done an okay job when it comes to head of the creative, and he has a lot of questionable decisions that needs to be answered for the most part. Number two, I thought, doing what better with Vincent. Oh God, that's coming up. That's kind of crazy to mention that man out of it. Well, the thing is too, it was Jacob. Because here's the thing, they were overseas, so that's what I'm thinking. But the problem is, like, outside, like, then again, it does kind of make sense that the Raw, yeah, that's right. Raw does have needs more star power, so it kind of makes a lot of sense that way. But at the same time, too, like, the thing is, too, John, I know this is gonna be crazy to say. I don't think Drew's gonna hold it for a good hot minute, but I don't think he's going into WrestleMania being the WWE champion. There's one guy in particular that is still. Look, I love Drew. Don't get me wrong. The one hurdle that I see that's going to stop Drew McIntyre going into WrestleMania as the WWE champion is Roman Reigns himself. If you go back to what we saw like a handful of months with Drew being the Bloodline Hunter, the one guy in the Bloodline that, let's be real, that Drew has never gotten his hands on is Roman. So there's another story you could build there. At the same time, I think it's that when the Bloodline Hunter, that's when you kind of saw the heel turn with Drew McIntyre being the insane Scottish psychopath that we saw. I think when Dolph Ziggler was here, when freaking saw Dean Ambrose under, good Lord, I don't know why that brings back some old memories. But yeah, it's just one of those things because I don't know. Like I said, we're gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. I'd be shocked if Drew McIntyre walks into WrestleMania as WWE champion. But I just had this weird feeling that Drew's going to hold it for a while. I think I'd say not for a long time, but I would say long enough to where, and and as Glue would tell you, like, I think Cody's going to get the belt back because when you really look at how the WrestleMania card stuff is getting built, and going to, and like I said, that's nice. Well, the thing is too, John, that also apply. Well, here's the thing: the women's division on SmackDown is very scarce. Because you already have, because like I said, you could throw Nia. Like I said, you can also throw Nia, Last Legend in that mix. There's going to be some other call ups too. But the problem is, like, they're focused on, and we haven't seen Tiffany Stratton in a handful of months. So I mean, you could. Well, I think she's too pretty much bigger than the Women's United States Championship. However, I will say, I think it's the writing on SmackDown and the fact that there's lack of big stars in the women's division. Because here's the funny thing. That's what I say, and that's true. Well, it depends on some of the women that they want to bring up from NXT. Blake Monroe, in particular, should be the number one option for SmackDown when it comes to the women call-ups. But like I said, we'll talk more. I'll touch more on it. Oh, nice double pump kick with both ladies down. But yeah, I think Blake Monroe should be the number one option for the SmackDown brand when it comes to the women's division, because I think Blake Monroe can help elevate that women's division. And the funny thing is too, like, we all were criticizing about the damn women's tag division. The fact that it's actually working, which, good fucking God, we've been asking that for years. And both, I mean, shoot. Yeah, that is crazy too. Well, yeah. Like I said, well, the thing is too, it's like, there are times where I may or may not go live because, like, A, if I'm not feeling up to it, B, I know I need a little bit of a break because obviously sometimes my full-time job takes it right out of me. But like today, oh shit. Like today, like when. Well, the thing is too, John. I will say this: I think Raw is okay for now. I think should be good for now. I believe SmackDown needs an overhaul of the women's division, and because I gotta look at. Damn, that's what I'm saying. Like Raw, that's the thing too. That's what there's always said. Raw is always the A show. SmackDown's the B show. Now there were times that the roles were reversed. You know, back in the day. See, and Ryan, look, I even put that in our La Familia group chat that to me, AJ got screwed. This this on on Raw. No, I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna lie for the most part. Now I gotta see what do we got coming up for. Ah, okay. So yeah, it's Vengeance. Okay, I take that back. Because after the Royal Rumble, you got NXT, you got Vengeance Day for NXT, so it probably is going to be that pay per view in February. Like I said, until everything is like confirmed and whatnot, I think that's what's going to happen is have that 6-man ladder match, at Vengeance Day. I'm kind of interested to see how the card's going to be looking like. For the most part, and now we got Kalani Jordan and split leg of moonsault. No, gets caught into right into a submission, like almost like a triangle choke. Yeah, well, nice roll through from Lola Vice, and now counter 1, 2, no, nice pinning counter by Kalani Jordan, gets to the wrist and inverted airplane spin. I don't know what do you call that. Kalani up to the top. The 450 roll. Nope. Roll through. Lola Vice, the spinning heel kick. Nope. Get caught with the waist locky. Roll through. 1, 2. And and Kalani got caught with the hand of the cookie jar. 1, 2, 3. After the spinning back fist of Lola Vice puts. But yeah, Prestige, that is also true. Like I said, there was one point in time, I believe that was in 2016, if my memory serves me right. Like I said, my memory isn't really good as it used to be. But I will say that the SmackDown roster needs an overhaul. And that's both the men's and the women's division. I say more of the women's division. You could continue to add to the not the Raw. Hello, the men's division. Because could be a possibility you could send Obafemi there. I mean, Obafemi could fit well on the SmackDown roster, so it kind of will help some stuff. And see, that was the one thing that SmackDown had done well was the development of the talent that were getting called up to the main roster. Now, I will say, prior to when Vince was still here, like that was my biggest concern with these NXT call-ups, because they get lost in the shuffle because of Vince not knowing how to use them. But yeah, I was just looking at what happened at that speed tournament final with Tavion Heights and Lexus King. And that is true. I mean, like I said, I can appreciate Tavion Heights because one, and this is going back to what we said for a long time. This is what Gable Stevenson was supposed to be, putting that work in, showing that amateur background, and unfortunately, Gabe Stevenson never really worked out. And kind of look see where that happened. what I would say, Jasper Troy. Um, oh God. Oh, here. See, this is where I would respectfully disagree. Look, Jack Swagger. Oh God. I will admit I was not a fan of the Jack Swagger character until they paired him with Zeb Coulter, which, by the way, we kind of got to where we are with him. Because Jack Swagger, I would say, if you go back to in the early 2010s, now I will say this will give the bit some credit towards Vince. I mean, I think this was still at the time there was still experiment was. Still at the time we still had Cena as the face of the company at the time. But at the same time too, it's like Swagger really was never that. Look, the wrestling was fine, but when it comes to everything else, when you have from what you see from Swagger, like it's, I don't know, like Swagger, like he can wrestle. I mean, obviously shows in the background. I mean, the dude was also a decent MMA fighter. I did watch a couple of his fights. But dude had it all. I'm saying, like, he had an identity and a character, but the problem is, like, his promo ability was lackluster. Now, I would say, now granted, I think this was this was way before what NXT. Well, that is true, but at the same time, too, like, it really depends on who you're comparing it to. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, too, like I said, Jack Swagger, like he had, like you said, too, Prestige, like he had a character, had an identity. The problem is, I don't think he connected the audience that well to the point where it's like, to kind of strap a rocket to him and push him to the moon. Well, that is also true for the most part. But you just got to realize too, like it's kind of like in a way how Cody is. With that lisp, sometimes it's hard to really understand. I think that's kind of what hurts. I mean, look, you really can't blame stuff that you can't control. I mean, a lisp is one of them, but you could work through that. But I think at the same time too, that's kind of also goes back to what I said about with the promo ability, and it was hard to understand to what Swagger was saying. At the same time, too, his entire character, what he was working with, didn't really. I would say Evan Bourne, for the most part, had the rhythm of the cruiserweight division in the early 2010s. Evan Bourne would, Jesus, dude, Evan Bourne, for the most part, I will flat out admit, was a guy that I appreciated watching in the 2010s. Just I feel like he just never got the love and appreciation that he truly deserved. Well, I would say this is what MVP. When did MVP leave? So I know requested his release at one point. I know he talked about it too. I can't remember the exact year that. So I remember there were reports, and this was when I was still in school. So at the same time too, like I still remember. That's what I'm saying. Like he had it all. The problem is they pulled the trigger so damn soon, and yeah, and we just saw how bad that really worked out. Like I said, nothing against Jack Swagger or Jake Hager at that point in time. It's just like if you're like what Vince is like saying, or what he sees into like a world champion, if you're standing like over like say 6'4", 6'5" plus, you're big, muscular, and all that. He's gonna want to put the rocket on him, and unfortunately, that's kind of the case of Jack Swagger. I mean, Swagger was what I would say 6'3", 6'4" give or take. I mean, he was a big dude. I know cameras already don't do the man justice. That's the thing too, and this was going to go. I will say this also applies to when I first met Gangrel, for the first time. Because, like I said, I remember watching Gangrel back in the day. Didn't really think he was that big of a person on TV. Now, like I said, granted, the cameras didn't really do this man justice, but once you get to meet this dude, he is bigger than what the cameras show. That is to me. But we got the NXT Men's Speed Championship on the line. Yeah, that's also problem. Well, it's like the problem is, it's like, yeah, I would say that's not racist. I would say that's more xenophobic in the well, it's a mixture of racist, a little bit being racist and xenophobic at the same time, because God, I am losing my hang on, I gotta pause for a second in my head because I'm losing my train of thought on what I was going to say, because my brain's all over the place at the moment, because I appreciate anyone that's hopping in this chat right now. See, like I said, the cruiserweight division. Here's the thing. That's why I appreciate what 205 Live for the short run than it did. Pretty much. Well, like I said, the problem is I haven't, like I said, Gangrel, in terms of all the wrestlers I met from my days as a wrestling fan. Like I said, I've been a wrestling fan since 1999. Like I've been a fan for a good majority of my life, and got to see when I got to meet Gangrel when it was at BCW. I believe before, I think in but yeah, like Gangrel, like I said, the cameras didn't really do this man justice if you watch him on the indie scene, but he is a large dude. I would say he's about like 6'4", 6'5", and this dude, I think he looks better than he's ever been. Since I can fucking remember him in WWE. Because let's be real, like, I kid you not, this dude looks like he's in probably the best shape he's ever been. Since his WWE run and back in the late 90s before he got released. True, but you also got to realize too, like some of the women are on the smaller side of things. Like I said, and I think that's kind of where not saying doesn't hurt Izzy in a sense. Like I said, I think Izzy there's some potential there for what she can be. And that is well, I would say technically you could. Well, I mean, you still got Selena Vega and see, the problem, like I said, the only thing what failed 205 Live was you had, because like I said, I think this is an interesting conversation to have when it comes to 205 Live, because I will talk more on it. Like I said, there's a lot of like, I appreciate all the comments coming in, as well. Like I said, I'll do my best. I'm trying to do my best to call matches and stuff like that, give my own commentary, kind of just, when you're doing this shit solo, so it's like I'm over the place. I would say that is also true, but at the same time, too, even go back to, like I say, even go back from the 2000s to the 2010s, you still had some good-looking women on the roster. I mean, you still had Trish Stratus still looking fucking phenomenal, Mickey James for crying out loud, for the fact that it said, that Mickey James storyline really pissed me off. I will tell you that. So we got a minute 37. Tavion Hyatt for the pop-up. Nice overhead German suplex. On the big man, Jasper Troy, I apologize. Yeah, 1, 2, no. Well, the thing is, too, the men's tag division on SmackDown it's been pretty good compared to Raw. Well, I mean, now I think Raw is starting to revive itself, because I mean you had to reunite the Usos for one, which we've been asking for a while. 1, 2, and 3. Jasper Troy retains the Speed Championship. Thing is to go back to what John and I said about do I think 205 Live? I said we'll get. See. Problem is, I don't think it. Like I said, if you could have, because I think if you just have the straight up cruiserweight division, if I remember correctly, the cruiserweight title for the if I remember correctly, the cruiserweight division back in the day, there was like no set weight limit, and I will admit, probably the weirdest thing that anyone that won, like, look, I love the Hardy Boys and I love Matt Hardy, but when he won that cruiserweight championship for the first time, it's like I thought to myself, like, what are we doing here? Because first of all, Matt at the time did not fit the cruiserweight bill, for the most part. See, that's another thing. Well, I think they're slowly doing that procedure. I think they're slowly gonna, because first of all, they're not gonna just automatically just strap them. Well, the championship don't mean diddly squat. It's how he puts on the matches, and I want go back to how he did on LFG. Like, dude, like I said, there is a lot to like when it comes to Jasper Troy. I mean, like I said, Tavion Heights. I'm going to say this again. Tavion Heights is what Gabe Stevenson was supposed to be. Have an Olympic background, amateur background. Not to be the next Kurt Angle, but kind of just be this generation's Kurt Angle compared to what Kurt Angle was for us back in the day. But yeah, Tavion Heights. I mean, like, there's a lot to like with Tavion Heights. Definitely better what Gabe Stevenson fortunately fizzled out, which, I mean, the problem is, John Nell, they tried to really get this guy all he can. The problem is, I don't think Gable Stevenson his heart was in it for the most part. And obviously they released him, and then he tried to go, try out for the NFL. Didn't work out so damn well. And now he's going back to doing Olympic wrestling, the freestyle. And that's kind of the last I've ever heard of Gable Stevenson. So that, like I said, Tavion Heights is basically what Gable Stevenson was supposed to be. Has a good character, showing off that amateur wrestling background. As we know, the only we have seen with a guy like Chad Gable, we know how good he is. Same with Kurt Angle. I mean, Kurt Angle is an all-time great in my eyes. That's what I thought, but I think here's my thing. I don't think they're ready. I think they're giving him a little bit more time before. Like I said, I think Soul. I think they're going to give her. Like I said, I think they're going to give this. Like I said, I do believe Soul and Zarya will be on the main roster at some point, because right now I don't think there's. Well, you could put them on SmackDown. I mean, and probably in the women's tag division, you could do that. Yeah, that is true. That's the thing too. Baron Corbin's another one. I feel like it's crazy. This is probably going to not be the only time I will defend Baron Corbin, but I would say this is probably the one time where, I would say that that Baron Corbin could have had a better run. Like, he could have been used better. Like I said, the whole Happy Corbin bullshit that he was running with. Now after a handful of weeks after that, go to the depressed Corbin. Then he goes down to NXT, kind of reinventing himself and become what he's looking like now. It's like you couldn't really. That still irks me to this day. I believe the Royal Rumble was at the end of the year. I mean, the Nepo Baby, sure, they could say that because she is the Rock's daughter for the most part. Legit. But at the same time, too, like, I don't think she's that bad. Here's the thing. I don't think it's forced. I don't think they just don't care. To me, I can appreciate Ava's work for what she's been trying to do as the NXT GM, because I know when she tried to wrestle, and I'm going to be, I'm like I said, I'm not going to say this to hate on her, but her wrestling ability is not where it needs to be. And I think she's doing pretty well in the GM role because like she can't. Here's the funny thing too: when she was doing like all this like training and whatnot to get into do some in ring action, when I really look even just from just from the outside, she gives off more that general manager type of vibe. She kind of has that look of an authority figure, and I can see why. Sean decided to put her as the general manager. Has she been perfect? Not exactly, but I do think she has done a fine job of what she's been given as the NXT GM. I would say, having a guy like also Mr. Stone also helping, even though I still can't find. Also, but look, I know I'm kind of going off the track a little bit, but the whole fucking I'm sorry, look, I can appreciate Mr. Stone nowadays. Well, you did go back to his time in TNA as Impact as Robbie E. That can never get out of my fucking head. Same with Walking Wild. The entire fucking Jersey Shore bullshit that Impact was doing back, and I think towards the later half, because good lord, fucking goddamn, I would say Dixie Carter was not doing diddly fucking squat with the fucking company because you almost ran that shit into the fucking ground. I mean, you already knew that company was going to go rerun to the ground when we first bring in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. Well, I would not put that on Bischoff because, I mean, look, Bischoff does have some good ideas. I mean, John, I would say go look back on that with Walking Wild. Mr. Stone is Robbie E, and I can't remember who the other guy was, but you can't tell me that they ripped that shit straight from the Jersey Shore because as someone who I have not watched the Jersey Shore, but I've seen if anybody knows who's DJ Paulie is, and have seen Jersey Shore, that's how Robbie E and Walking Wild pretty much looked during their Impact run, which good fucking guy, I think that gimmick was fucking garbage. But now we are looking at backstage with Stax, Rest of Chase U, Lexus King. Yeah, looks like we got Miles Born. The problem, that's true. So look, that's what we all need. The problem is, it's the fact that they're relying on AI and Chat GPT, and all that shit. Also, and speaking of which, if to my Stranger Things fans, I would say, oh god, I know that documentary that can drop on the. I think most of us originally thought he was going to get the call up, but I don't think that was going to be the case. But I'm not entirely too sure. Now that would be great. There's been talks about. I've been hearing something about that too. Well, I mean, it's Tony Storm, like, yeah. But the thing is, too, procedurals got to realize too, like, I mean, yeah. I mean, hello, this is the same woman who says she's here, she's queer. Like, we all know that, Tony Storm's bisexuality, it's on full fucking display. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts of where she swings on, like I said, she swings on both sides of the fence. One of the things too, China, that is to tell you like how lazy the writing is. But the fact, and I'm going to reference the Unreal, that one Unreal segment where I think they were talking about the Royal Rumble, and the fact that you had. Sorry, I just got fucking distracted by the. A French luchador. That is very interesting. That is. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they're keeping Tony D'Angelo right now in NXT to kind of work with this gimmick or what he's doing with this gimmick before he gets the call up because we've seen it and time again, with all the potential that the future is with this company. Yeah, and that is true. One of the things too, and also procedure, and kind of piggyback on what you said too. Oba, from what Oba did, put on a great match with Leon Slater, and vacate the championship. Roy tells me, well, we all know he was going to get the main roster call. Now the question is how are they going to do it? It was smart for Oba to vacate it, to keep him, have him end on a strong, still keep him strong going up while going up to the main roster. And then you're having a lot of other opportunities opened up for the rest of the men's division on the NXT roster. At some point, too, you can also make the argument that Ethan Page should get the call up at some point. I think Ethan Page is main roster ready too. I mean, that is true. Thing is, I think most of us know that we all want Bianca back because it's been a fucking hot minute the last time she was on WWE programming. It definitely would happen. Well, you got to figure out like how to build. You have to fill it. They also got to have a tell. You got to also do some how to do it from a storytelling aspect to lead up Gunther and Open to happen. So that's just me. On the other hand, so Ilya LaFleur is going to make his debut next week. So this should be interesting. So that should be interesting. And now I got Blake Monroe. What the hell are we going to hear from her? I will say it's gonna. I've kind of gotten used to call Mariah May Blake Monroe at this point because it's crazy. With any ex AEW man or old woman coming in with that is true. Yeah, that is also true, Prestige. I'll give you that 100%. The thing is, too, I do think Oba's going to be the much better talent when it comes to the wrestling aspect because, especially if you booked him right, I do believe Oba's going to be one of those guys. I think you can have him as the unstoppable. Well, I don't think they're going to have him as heel per se. I think the way how the crowd reacted when he came on the Saturday's main event, and I think the 1 or 2 Raws after that, that is true. You do need somebody to give the fight a kryptonite for Gunther, which is true. I will agree with that to an extent. And I'm trying to think because it's definitely not. Oh shit! My apologies. It's definitely not Jay. I know that for a fact because we already seen. Yeah, well, we all know how we feel on the Brock thing. And to be honest, we're just hoping for Brock to retire and just go away. I did not hear about the Usos doing a cooking show. I mean, true for the most part, but at the same time, too, when you have a woman like Stephanie Vaquero who has a lot of name recognition, like we all knew she was not going to stay in NXT for long. It's the same way with Julia. The problem is, especially when it comes to Julia, it's not because she's not the bad wrestler. Yeah. I mean, Prestige, if you really think about it, all the shit that we've led up to over like the last 4 to 5 years was because of Seth. Seth is what caused this fucking domino effect to where, Roman took some time off for a while, came back in 2020, even though I will say, boy, that, which is kind of crazy too, now that I think about it, even though me and Tara were still making slight content at the time, not to where we're not like here and per se. And the funny thing is too, I really started getting to the YouTube space the year after, in January 2021. So, with this past January, overall being passed, when it comes to the YouTube content creation for myself and Tyler, it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. I know the channel says, it's been created around October since 2011. I know that shit's been around for a long minute. But I will say it's been 5 years. It's been crazy. It's been fun. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a lot of fun in doing what me and Tyler do. Our own separate thing. Now, with the rebrand, when we rebranded the Sports and Wrestling Connection, would we done that a little bit sooner? Oh, 100%. That was the one thing that we should have done a little bit sooner, but unfortunately, it's better late than never. But now we're gonna see or hear from what Blake Monroe is gonna. God damn. Damn, these fucking yawns out of nowhere is gonna be kicking my ass from. We're not even an hour in. But besides that, we're going to hear from what Blake Monroe is going to freaking say, because after her crash out on last week on New Year's Eve on Thea Hale, and yep. I think me and Tyler in particular are the most happiest, because now we're actually get to finally get to watch it without illegal streaming it, because freaking a lot of households have the AMC TV station. I mean, that is true from Blake Monroe about the controversy stuff. I would say not more controversy, just shit just happened. Actually happened. Apparently, what happened that Thea actually got the win, knocked out of freaking Blake Monroe, and we kind of saw the unfortunate title change. And if you go back to how me and Tyler reacted, and we were surprised, like, what? I mean, I know she's going to be some Mariah May, but I'm more being accustomed to call her Blake Monroe. I mean, I would not be surprised that Blake Monroe will be the next NXT Women's Champion, but I don't. It's going to be something interesting to really think about in the next coming days or so. I mean, shit, who wouldn't proceed? I think that would definitely would. Well, the problem is, now there's a slight problem with that. It's heel versus heel. That's the problem. Like, someone's gonna have to go be babyface by proxy. The problem is, we saw that one time with Mariah May being a babyface, kind of felt meh. That is true, John. But I'm also saying the fact that when Thea took the belt off of Blake, which should never have happened. That is, that is also a good point too. I didn't really think about that or felt. The problem is, I just can't see JC Jane being a baby face. That's the funny thing. Because JC Jane for the most part, for the amount of times, I mean, true. I mean, yeah, it's definitely being different is not going to hurt. I mean, that's 100% fact. Oh, now speaking of another one that's well overdue for and now I got Miss Jada Parker. Speaking of another one who's been under fucking utilized in NXT, that's Miss Parker. For the love of Christ, at some point she needs like how many times are we going to not see her hold her first singles title in this company? It makes little to no sense. And the fact that Miss Jada Parker is back on TV, which has got to be damn, it's been a fucking hot damn minute. Jenna, to answer your question, I have no fucking clue. I don't know what they've been doing. I know she's been doing the funny things too. I know they've been doing house shows with her. I know she's been doing house shows or doing live events. But when it comes to the TV stuff, I don't know what they were doing. Now, I will say the proper baby face is Miss Parker. Because you can definitely tell. That's also kind of crazy. The fact that they split her away from OTM, too, which was interesting, to say the least. I guess becoming a fan favorite. That's good. The funny thing is, Super Say, she was. And the funny thing is, too, when you go back to when she was paired with OTM and when this had like the GTA, like a GTA kind of vibe, when you really look at the entrance on how they were operating, it really did seem like, look, I think OTM has a really nice future as in the tag division. Don't get me wrong. But ever since when Jada Parker was starting to, become a fan favorite, with the crowd, I believe Sean decides that, you know what, let's get it away from her. That's what I'm saying. That's what exactly. That's what I was getting to. I think what Sean was seeing of how the crowd was reacting to Jada Parker, I think saying, you know what, we're gonna have to pull the trigger, get her away from OTM, pull the trigger on a babyface run. And so far, I mean, it hasn't really been bad. I just wish they could do more with it to where she gets her first takes a singles gold, because there was times where she was close to winning the NXT North American Women's Championship, which was crazy. Now I think for the Shallow Hill. Well, the thing is too, true, but Sean's going to find a way to get the stars out. Now that would be my thing. Is you're going to have? Oh, it's crazy enough for me to say. If you want to go the heel versus heel route, you're going to have to turn Tiffany Stratton back to being a heel. The problem where I see, and it's not because I don't think Tiffany Stratton could make a good heel, but I mean, if you go back to what Tiffany Stratton was in NXT, she was a fantastic heel. The freaking daddy's little rich girl type of character she was running before the call up, and the funny thing is too, it's like I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with her. I don't think she would have gone elsewhere. I think she's one of those ones that's maybe I think they say, look, if I do come back to TV, I'm gonna try to bust my ass to get back into the title picture. That is also true. I think it's also the same argument I think not the argument. Sorry, the same conversation because. Prestige, correct me if I'm wrong. We had I would say what about a couple years back we had me, Gully, Key. I'm not Key. Oh, Key too, and throw her in there too, and the rest of the people that you have seen here on YouTube. That we had a conversation like, do we potentially see a Bianca heel turn? I said, I don't know if I remember saying it, but I remember saying yes. But at the same time, too, it also hit me too. It's like Bianca's is one of those baby faces you can't really turn heel because, and that's where is it? Yeah, and think that it's applying. You make the same implication that Tiffany's is one of those ones that she becomes that role model. And that's what's hard because look, That is, like I said, that is also the thing too. Like Bianca's those ones you just can never turn heel because she's that type of person that what that's for the little kid. Well, I mean, this company is pretty much is, but she does want to become the role model for the little girls all over the world. For one, two, it's hard to freaking boo. I would well, I'll say I will take that back. I mean, I'm thinking Bianca got any boos, but I can never remember. But I mean, I would say I would still put that. It's hard to boo a woman like Bianca Belair. Um, that's what I'm saying, and that's a good point. And this thing too, yeah, she's way too loud for that. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no point. Um, to have Bianca turn heel and destroy, figuratively destroy of what she has for being a role model. At some point, like her and Dom, I think I will say this too. Whenever Dom comes, at some point, once they start to figure out how to end this damn Judgment Day faction, we all know that. Well, two in particular should have a babyface turn. That's Dom and Liv, for the most part. Like, I think they're overdue for a babyface run. For me, but it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know. Like, at some point, like, look, I appreciate what the Judgment Day has done. The problem at some point, it's just one of those things. Like, an overstated is welcome to the point where it's like, it just doesn't really care. That's the thing too. Like, Dom, like, even when they pulled the heel trigger turn with Dom, I believe at WrestleMania. I think completely fucking. I think it is WrestleMania. Some of them correct me in the chat because I once said my memory when it comes to recent events is out the fucking window for the because I can't remember the. Yeah. Well, I don't mind the biker themed version of the Judgment Day. The problem is when they changed the fucking theme song. That's where the problem lies. Was them changing from Alter Bridge. Thank you, because I can never remember the life of me of when they pulled that heel trigger. Because, like I said, my memory, I will admit, like I would say, give it like a couple of years, and I will forget for the most part until I have to go back. Either watch the event, go look at the cage match stuff. So yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, like the faction itself was fine. I mean, when they went to the whole biker thing, kind of with the logo and whatnot, which I liked because I've watched a lot of Sons of Anarchy, so I mean, I could appreciate it. But when they moved away from Alter Bridge, now that's where we had a fucking problem because whatever they have now, it does not fit. Oh boy, yeah, that's also true. Yeah, and the funny thing is too, it's like there's very little. Well, and the stream too. Speaking of the Bullet Club, they are no longer a faction nowadays because I think Yoji. Oh god, what the fuck's his name? He's the new Sasuya, I believe. I could be fucking wrong. Like I hardly ever watch. It's hard to watch New Japan because you have to legally you have to leave me strict shit at like 5 a.m. because that's when the freaking their events start because when they're on the on the over that way, they're pretty much almost a day ahead of us. So once the Bullet, here's the thing. The Bullet Club pretty much died. I would say after what Kenny and the Bucks left. And you could say with the AJ too is another one's probably where the and also them and the Bone Soldier Taji Ishimori. God, I forgot. I didn't still remember his name. So I still remember when he made his debut with the Bullet Club as the Bone Soldier. Ishimori was he was a good wrestler for the most part with the Bullet Club faction, but at the same time too, they also had a lot of these different freaking Splinter Cell bullshit that what they were doing. It just built the Bullet Club faction just never really did it for me. In the later years, like the only like versions of the faction that had a lot of meaning was the Fergal Devitt, aka Prince Finn Balor, the start of what the Bullet Club was going to be. Then you had, I believe, AJ Styles next, which that was pretty good for the most part. So we saw Kenny Omega coming in and took over. And by taking over, I mean kicking out AJ Styles. Yeah, well, Prestige. Let's be real. I don't want to talk about students, but luckily for me, I managed to get that shit paid. Well, I hope so. They're going. John's going to have to at some point. It's been well over a goddamn due. And now I got the first TNA title defense on NXT this week. The TNA International Championship. Oh yeah, Sullivan's been well loved by kids. No, don't get me wrong. The thing is too, Darnell, I can't really answer that because I haven't really been keeping up with AEW in the last couple of weeks. So I mean, it's been. I know Thunder Rose has been doing some stuff away from AEW. That's the last time I've heard from her. I know she does help us to bust it open at every now and again. So like she could also do some stuff in Mexico too. Oh yeah. Yes, sir. Me and Tara are gonna be alive for that. And the funny thing is too, I have talked about this. It's gonna be a first one. God. And the funny thing is too, that's the reason why we held off from doing and which sucks. Because like I said, I can appreciate TNA where it is now. And the funny thing is too, it's like TNA for me, and I can go back to watch the old stuff. The problem, that's one thing. Their app's not multi-user friendly, which is bullshit for the most part. Well, the thing is too, John. What AEW is also they're starting to downsize their roster a little bit because they have way too many that either they're not using, they can have go elsewhere. Nice kidney shot from Stacks with a hammerlock into the damn right in the ring post. But yeah, this is one of those. Yeah, that's the funny. Well, and those reels too. She's on Ring of Honor. The problem is, me and Sarah can't be doing Ring of Honor because I'm gonna have to pay $10 a month, which is like I said, not bad. But with all the shit, with all the money situation and shit like that. The thing is too, John. See, that's where I kind of disagree. I think, well, I know Fallon did pretty okay in her singles run. I was the only one. I mean, true, but at the same time, too, it's like I don't think. I don't know. So now I got Shiloh in control at the moment. Yeah, I've been seeing that. The problem, well, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but at the same time, too, AEW, it's kind of funny because I know Goldie would tell you this too. Goldie was never a big fan of Powerhouse Hobbs. To me, I knew the potential was there for a monster like Powerhouse Hobbs, and see what AEW's doing it with the with the option, the trios championship, I think it's pretty great. Damn, nice cannonball from Shiloh Hill. But I, for some reason, I think I think Powerhouse, Hobbs, I think is going to stay with AEW. That's how I see it. But going back to what Chaos Raider said, yeah, me and Tara will be live for TNA on the premiere on Thursday night, and it's also a 9:00 start on AMC. So, and the funny thing is too, and I've already talked about this side too, and that's really one of the reasons why me and Tara, we didn't really want to stop on purpose, because it was hard for the most. Well, when we had Sling TV, it was easy because Sling had access TV for both stuff when I first had it. However, when the news came out about NXT going to CW, that kind of fucked everything. So we had to sacrifice Sling TV for YouTube TV to get the CW network. And, we had to put TNA on a hold for a while until once they got that freaking TV deal. Before I answer John Nell's question, but yeah, me and Tara are going to get back at it every Thursday night from 9:00 to 11, which is kind of crazy too. If anybody forgot, when Raw was on on the 9:00 time slot, yeah, that brings back some old nostalgic memories because they could have. I mean, that's the thing too. Yeah, they could have done the CW. The problem, okay, one of the problems I do see with the CW at times, not a lot of markets have them, which kind of sucks for the most part. And Goldie can attest this too, because the fact you're gonna have to get something else, especially if you and obviously you can't not fall for Goldie, but the fact that Goldie's near the Chicago area, a lot of the shit that they have, it doesn't apply because when I was reading some about YouTube TV adding new, especially when it comes to the CW network, putting their affiliate stations near Indianapolis and whatnot. But the problem is when I told Gooley about it, said he was excited for it. Come to find out, he lives in Gary, Indiana, which it's right by Chicago. It's about just 30 minutes, I believe 30 minutes outside of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So I haven't really been there. I know there's been, and stuff like that, but which kind of sucks. That's why me and Tyra holding most of the time do these NXT streams because Goalie, which kind of was fucked up for the most part because it was three of us for a good while before fucking YouTube TV decides to freaking cut the CW network from going Goalie side of fucking things. And and ever since then it's been me and Tyra when it comes every Tuesday night when it comes to fucking NXT. Sometimes a little bit different if we have some sports teams, which the problem is with the way that the state of the NBA is, it's been hard to do NBA games. Don't ask, like I said, to our hockey fans, as much as we want to do hockey content, it's hard to keep up with hockey. And it's also hard to and shit like that. Now, I will say, I've been watching the Flyers a lot more this year than I did in I would say in the last year and a half, which is nice, which is cool because of the way how the Flyers been playing, especially under a new head coach, who I still question why you freaking use Urson in certain nights compared to not use Vladar, which makes little to no sense because Urson can't tend the goal to save his fucking life. And I know Vladar this past week had a rare bad game from him against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which, to be fair, I'm not going to be too mad about it because, good Lord, we've been freaking rebuilding for God knows how long. Haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1975. And true, but at the same time, too, like, I think they're doing some pretty good stuff with her and Last Legend as a tag team. Raquel definitely should stay as a heel because it's hard because even Tara said this too. This whole smiling, happy-go-lucky babyface sticky that Raquel used to have back in when she was in NXT. It worked for a while in NXT, but it's overtime. When she got to the main roster, that shit did not connect with the crowd whatsoever. And I think that's what they're doing. They're kind of building her as like female version of Kevin Nash. And there goes Shallow Hill. Now with the headbutt, he ducks the clothesline. Nice shoulder blast. I mean, that's true. Prestige. That's true from the. Oh, nice inverted 450. 1, 2, no. Kick out of 2 from Stacks. And the fact that we're almost at the. That was a nice inverted moonsault was really nice. I go for the side of suplex. Nope. A couple punches to the midsection from Staxy. Just for separation. I don't think he will. That would be really fucking rare to hear Joe Hendry getting booed, which I don't think it will ever happen, considering how over he truly is. And 2, and no, kick out of 2 from Shiloh Hill. Ooh, what? I'd say that's more the IWC, but at the same time, too, it's the IWC. Nothing but a toxic cesspool of people live in their mother's basements for all I care. But at the same point, I mean, obviously there's some. No, that's a good, like say, 95% of the IWC. At the same time, there's also a good 5%. Up and over to Shiloh on the ring apron. Nope. Shoulder. One, two, no. I was going to say, like, yeah, I'm with you on proceeding. And Stacks retains it. Now my thing is, who was Stacks going to drop the international championship to? Because you could go back to Steve Macklin as the international champion, but you could do something different on TNA programming when it comes to the international championship. You know what's funny? I can see another guy could make a stick at his claim to and I see more. I can see Moose going after it. But I guess, well, I mean, yeah, you could make an argument for Moose being part of the international championship conversation. But yeah, that's just like I said. TNA this coming Thursday night is going to be very. I think it's going to do well. For me. Oh, But maybe that's just me. Well, the thing is too, like I think that's what the camera's making her look like a giant. And I think in reality, I think she true. I do think that you, yeah, but in all seriousness, no, that is true. But at the same time, too, with someone like Izzy Dame, whose man is Braun Breaker, and well, we know how crazy he can fucking be. Um, that being said, I will be right back. 'Cause I need to take a quick snack break. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. All right. All righty. So, while we're in commercial break, but yeah, but shout out to everyone who's been hanging with me. I mean, that is one person to do it. Um, I wouldn't be opposed to that for one. Mm. Yeah. So now, here comes the new NXT Women's North American Champion, represent the calling, Izzy Dame. So now we're going to hear from her in a promo segment, I believe. So yeah. Well, I mean, true to an extent. Well, Break's gonna come back to get her baby back, so that's for sure. Yeah. True, but at the same time, you were another but a backstabbing bitch to Tatum Paxley, and well, we know how crazy that shit worked out. I mean, that, yeah. I don't know. Well, he's already been twice at Tatum's chased her fucking group with a chainsaw. So I mean, mm-mm. Oh, say not for long when you have Tatum Paxley breathing down your damn neck, and then you got Blake Monroe who's on the God, how do I phrase that? I mean, we all fucking. Mm-hmm. That is true. I doubt it, Brian. I doubt the WWE will ever have the option C. I would say TNA does need to bring that back. And speaking of Tatum Paxley, here she comes. Yeah, Tatum was not going to hold up for much longer. Damn. Yeah, yeah, that's a bit of a fine. Yeah, that'll do it. But do I really blame Tatum for all the shit that's happened? No. But what is going on, Tommy? Tommy T. But at the same time, too, um, I do believe, I do think Tatum does have a legit gripe in a sense. I mean, I know she does want to get her hands on Tatum, not Tatum, on Izzy Dame, rightfully so. The thing is, too, is that really nice? I think so. I can't remember. I don't know if Maximum Carnage is on Dynamite or if it's on Collision. Probably not. I mean, I'll be ready for it if it's on Dynamite for sure. All right, cool. I know it's on. Okay, cool. It's on Dynamite, but yeah, like I said, me and the crew are going to be back at it again on tomorrow. If not, probably just going to be me and Ghoulie. For those who know who, there's Well, up next we got the no disqualification match, as we saw from what happened last week, in our main event time. But Joe Hendry having, obviously a legit issue. Like I said, we're probably just we're doing straight up Dynamite. Like, it sucks because haven't done most of us haven't done a Collision. Since we worked for some of our former colleagues who were, to say for the lack of a better term, were snakes, for lack of a better term, for all the bullshit that and if anybody's heard of all the stories that me and Tyler told, stuff like that, not just because of our personal life, but all the shit that we had to go through and stuff like that. Like I said, we've harped on it a lot, and we kind of grown. Obviously over the last not to say the last few years, just from, like I said, probably around the 10. See, that's kind of where my problem lies. The Collision to me, I just feel like it's not worth my. And it's not my time. It just seems like the way how they structure both Dynamite and I think yeah. Listen, we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Well, Thursday. Oh, like it's good to be back to covering some TNA watch parties for myself and Tyler, because I don't know if I don't think Ghoulie is going to be that much of a. I don't think he will be familiar of who's on the TNA roster. So, so that being said, I don't think here's the thing, Prestige. I don't think Izzy's going to be a baby face. She doesn't really give off. I think that, like I said, I think women like Izzy who are just natural heels. That's kind of where they should stay and thrive. But I mean, either way, yeah, she's a true heel. But at the same time, too, like I said, the thing is, too, Tommy. Oh, look, here's the thing. I am excited for Dynamite, like I always am every week. I know the last couple of weeks we haven't really done it because personal shit's been getting in the way. B, one of us in the crew are constantly getting, or is usually either A, is that under the weather, or having dealing with some, biological problems, or C, or dealing with some personal life shit. And I know it's gonna be, it's kind of be nice to get back to doing AEW. And I'll say this too, and and I know and Prestige knows where I'm going with this. Like, I'm not gonna name any names because look, I'm not the kind of person to name names when it comes to all the shit that me and Tyler had to go through. And because, like I said, me and Tyler can go on for about like an hour, all the bullshit we had to go through, especially under our growth on the YouTube platform, on the platform as well. But and all the stuff that we've done, get some partnerships, sponsorships like that. And for those who are sweet on the Sports and Rush Connection page, that are seen from the stream element bots. Like I said, we have a lot of smart. I'm working more to get more for the channel, but like I said, Tommy, that's the thing too, Tommy. If you're on the Sports Wrestling Next page, definitely subscribe to the channel. Make sure you have that notification bell turned on because, like I said, you will not miss. So you will guys not miss whether it's just me, sometimes going live on my own, or if I have to drop a short anytimes, drop some shorts every now and again, which I've done today. I've dropped 2 already when it comes to the NFL because I had to drop. What I know, I dropped one earlier this afternoon. When it comes when Mike Thomas stepped down from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I haven't done one. I really don't on the Kevin Petula because let's be real, that's kind of self-explanatory. Like what is? Here's the thing. When it comes to shit like the Kevin Petula fire, I already knew that's self-explanatory. But I will say I will definitely talk about that if I kind of like if I do want to do a video for that. But I will say, and also too, if you guys want to get cops and either the Sports Wrestling Connection merch or the It's For Money podcast merch, or do the combination. But the link in the description is down below to the shop. I believe we're having a deal. I can't remember which promo we're doing, but if you guys want to cop any merch that we have, definitely check it out. See if you guys are interested, because we do definitely want to see. Because my original idea was like if you guys cop some of the It's Money podcast or the Sports and Rents Connection merch. Definitely like because I was thinking about showcasing anybody that cops it on the Instagram on the official Sports and Wrestling Connection IG page, and kind of show off, and kind of give the fans the highlights, that's just because, like I said, me and Tara are one of those people that. And also, too, we're also looking at a triple threat tag team match next week. So we got a main event time with Dion Lex and Joe Hendry. But like I was saying before we get started on the main event, like I said, and when it comes to like I said, and the thing is too, me and Tara are not the type of people to run ads on the. I mean, technically we are monetized, so I mean. The ads comes itself. But when it comes to like the sponsorship ads, that's why I have do these stream element bots, kind of save you the time, and same with our social media pages. Because like I said, me and Tara, we are very little bit active on social media. We truly are, and stuff like that. But at the same time too, it's one of those things. It's like, and that's the thing too. It's like we're not the type of creators like like I said, if you guys want to be channel members, look. That's on your own free will. If you guys want to be part of one day, or like say, if you want to just, come on and just shoot the shit with me and Tyler, like either hit us up on either the IG or Twitter, because that's pretty much where we're at. We'll gladly bring you on, and just highlight, the fans and whatnot, because. But yeah, but like I said, it's one of those things that's like, me and Tyler are very grateful of who we have, and who we associate ourselves with, and at the same time, the people who have helped this channel grow to where it is now. I mean, when we're and stuff like that. So at the same time, too, me and Tyler can't be more grateful than what we have in terms of a platform. Like I said. Like this wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for COVID, and Tyler said, and we talked about that one time on the just being real on the real talk. We kind of opened up about that, where this all kind of stemmed from in terms of content creation. Now, are we perfect at it? No, absolutely not. I mean, I don't know how to fucking run OBS like the pro YouTubers and shit like that. And that's the reason why like I said, I'm grateful for the like the StreamYard, which kind of helps in a sense. And I actually want to see, well, why I make them borders and stuff like that. And I asked him back. Like I said, and also invest in the green screen too. Also was a big, nice little touch in terms of the production upgrade for myself. Um, I've learned how to upgrade the thumbnail designs, whatnot. As you could probably see, when it comes to NXT. Well, the NXT one, I will say I did find on Google Images. I just had to freaking do some adjustments, add the NXT logo and stuff like that. And I would say once you get to see the TNA thumbnail, I did have to heavily modify that to in a way kind of capture who's on the rock, like the champions of TNA for right now. That's kind of what I did. Okay, so proceeds the Instagram podcast is pretty much all because where me and Tyler just talk pro wrestling for about hour and a half. Very rare we do ever go on 2 hours. The Instagram podcast that's pretty much like I said, what Tyler, because Tyler originally had it because that's our pro wrestling podcast. We also have a sports one, the All Star Sports Show, which we haven't really done in a hot minute because let's put it, that one never really does well in terms of the viewership that we have. So that's why we haven't really done it when it comes to sports talk and whatnot. Oh, that's probably Tyler. I believe it. I think that's Tyler. Yeah, because Tyler pretty much runs the it's really Twitter account. When it comes to the Sports and Wrestling Connection, I pretty much run that page, and that's anyone can follow it. Because right now we're just barely over 2K followers on Twitter, but then at the same time, I can get 2 shits. Because people can also see, because we also do live stream on not Twitter. I mean, we do, but mostly me because I unfortunately them changing the whole. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Give me a second. Oh shit. Oh, interesting. But yeah. Cool. I just I just got your shit. Which is cool. So I appreciate that. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, okay, makes sense. At the same time, maybe I have to follow me on Twitter because I don't think I remember if I followed you or not. I followed you back on Twitter. I could be completely fucking wrong. But anyways. But in all seriousness, though, like this, here's the thing. Like I said, me and Tyler, like we're one of the very few creators. What is your Twitter handle, by the way? Because I can't remember. Because I can't remember the fucking life of me if I remember dating. I could, like I said, I don't know, but I will say, hey, look, trust me, Prestige. I see. Look, if it weren't for this, for doing, sports play and shit like that, I see my ultimate goal. Because my original career plan, I would say, hold on, let me take a look. Okay, cool. Never mind. Yep, I got it. I just need to double check because sometimes I tend to forget shit. And what I was gonna say? Oh, right. So my original career plan was to be like a crime scene technician in the forensic field, but the thing was, I just never had the motivation for it. And it's not because I didn't want to. It's just I was constantly getting burnt out left and right. Not because, yes, taking early 8 a.m. classes was not the best idea. but I had to do it anyways. And not to mention I was working a part-time job, which, to be honest, that didn't fucking help either. Then also they got a student loan, and we all got that in itself was a fucking, oh boy, that was a fucking nightmare. And but if I do chance to go back to school, it is definitely going to be for sports broadcasting, because that's something I would like to do, and hopefully at some point work with NBC Sports Philadelphia, because you know I that's probably one of my ultimate goals and whatnot. But at the same time, too, like I said, only man can dream. But at the same point, too, in time, that's why I definitely have to go do some more NBA games too, which it's kind of hindering a little bit on the sports side of things, which is kind of crazy to say because, and Tyler can attest to this too. The Dog Days of Summer, I think this last year or the year before 2025, when that was around, oh boy, that was a rough. I will admit that was a rough patch for me and Tyler when it comes to the sports shit, because I know the baseball was kind of getting boring. Would I do baseball again? Absolutely. That's the reason why. That's why I'm going to be doing the Yankees and Giants. I believe it's on the 26th. I believe so. Nice sharp knife edge chops from Hendry, Irish whip, hard and back first, and then from Deion Lennox. Another hard Irish whip by Deion Lennox. And the next Saturday for a Saturday. The thing is, too, I mean, look, I'll watch Saturday night's main event, but the thing is, too, like, we hardly ever stream it because it's like it comes around once in a damn blue moon. Thing is, too, Prestige, I'll say this. I know it's going to not say rub it in your face a little bit. See, that's for me, it's a benefit of being a college dropout because I'm not doing, I don't want to deal with classes right now. I'd rather just work and make money and just being a flat out adult. Which, to be honest, it sucks, but that's life. Damn, what a right by Hendry. All right, some of the ropes. Yo, follow away slam into the kip up. They tied. That is true. That is also true. And yeah, that is true. I will say, in terms of the teams that you root for, I think that only probably the one team I can see having any type of success is probably the Knicks. And it's kind of funny that's coming from a Sixers fan because we haven't really done shit. What? We have not won a championship since 1983. So, I mean, like I said, in terms of any type of team success that I can see, is probably the Knicks. In terms of if you look at the Eastern Conference, well, then again, just fucking Boston's gonna be a bit of a problem. I know we're a bit of a problem at times if we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, which we do from time to time. Which, good fucking god! Oh, nice standing ovation. 1, 2, nope, breaking. There's Dark State breaking it up. Like I said, here's the thing. I can say this too. I'm just going to shock some people. From the late night, I was in the early 2000s. I did grow. I was a Phillies fan at the time, but also did grow appreciating the Yankees for the most part. Where you still had Posada, Hideki Matsui, unfortunately A-Rod, which I know 2009 really, still hurts us because of him. And and all hell breaking loose in this matchup. And yeah, OT. That's another thing too. It's now OTM is now starting to get over with the crowd. Hey Ryan, I got you beat. Hey, look, I'm really showing my age here. Look, I'm almost 20. I'm almost 29 years old. I've been watching wrestling, not just WWE. I've been watching wrestling since 1999. That even includes WCW, and it's from 99 to 01. I remember clearly to the very final episode of WCW Nitro on March 16th, 2001 in Panama City, Florida. I remember that all too damn well. Be Ric Flair and Sting for the final time. Oh, damn. And, this is when WWE bought WCW. And at that point in time, look, company was already dead anyway. So, I mean, and then we had the crappy invasion angle, which we don't really talk about because that was really fucking piss poor for what it was. No, I would say that I will give credit to credit where credit is due with WCW, giving the guys like Eddie, giving it as Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko is another one that comes to mind. Where's it Lance Storm? Well, Woody Johnson at some point, the only way I can see that team ever sees is with the fact that it's been 15 years since the Jets ever meet the fucking postseason is ridiculous. The fact that they're worse than the freaking Angels when it comes to in baseball terms, that is straight out embarrassing. That is straight up embarrassing. Oh, I know. 1, 2, no, and Joe Hendry kicks out of 2. But yeah. Oh no, Tony. Yeah, Tony. Okay, this is interesting. I don't know. Okay, that was interesting to say the least. When it comes, so Joe Hendry gets the win, courtesy with the help of Tony D'Angelo. Well, I mean, all fair is love and war, apparently, because within. I would say this: when it comes to that, like, if you know your ownership is bad, like for like a certain amount of time, like there should be like a rule. It should apply to all sports. That if you don't make the postseason in a certain amount of time, like your team should your current owner should try to find a seller for said franchise. Obviously, perfect example of that is the fucking Jets. It's been 15 years since they made the fucking goddamn postseason. Here it comes. Damn. Oh yeah. Damn, what a German. Spinebuster. I think so. And that is how NXT goes off the air. To be honest, not a bad NXT. I mean, like I said, NXT at times will have some hit And when I say my miss, I don't think it's like a full blown miss. I think it's to the point where it's like, it's kind of in the shaky ground is what that's kind of how I would say that. But overall, this was not a bad episode of NXT. Kind of if it does lead to Vengeance Day, which I believe that's what's gonna. I think that's what the next pay-per-view is. So I do think there's a lot of stuff that is going to be is playing out the way that I hope it's going to do. Man, we got the qualifying matches for the 6-man ladder match for the NXT Championship after Obafemi vacated it. Yeah, it's not really bad. It's just like it's the way I look at it. It's like how NXT Black and Gold was. It had its identity. Like this iteration of NXT is still trying to find that set identity, and pretty much as you put it too, I wouldn't say it's I mean, it does showcase the future of what this company is going to have, going forward. But I will say NXT, like I said, they'll have some good episodes. They'll have some duds, but at the same time too, I mean, that also applies to Raw and SmackDown too. So I'm not going to be sugarcoating it, but at the same time, not a bad episode. That all being said, appreciate anyone that was tuning in tonight as well. If anybody is new, but yeah, that's what I said. Once they find that identity and establish it, I think that's when freaking NXT is starting to, in a way, kind of take off and kind of hopefully at some point bring back the black and gold feeling, but kind of doing it in their way, especially in Sean's vision, the way how I could see the future of NXT is looking. But that being said, anybody who's new, appreciate hanging out. Any new viewers, I appreciate you guys coming in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, whether you're coming from my channel, the Sports Wrestling Connection, or the Malguli page. Make sure you guys hit the like buttons on both channels, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, because let's be real, you guys do not want to miss any content that myself, Tyler, or Ghoulie will drop on a weekly basis. I know I haven't really been doing the streaming schedule because I know that a lot of shit's been taking my time up. I will be putting together another streaming schedule later this week. So for the next comment on the agenda, I know, like I said, I know it hasn't been put on the I believe it did. I think it is on the streaming schedule. I could be wrong. So tomorrow, we got AEW Dynamite as one of them. And then Thursday will be the premiere debut of NXT. No, not NXT. Come on, brain. Thursday night, TNA Thursday Night Impact. I think that's what it's called now. But I'm still going to call it TNA Impact on AMC. Which is going to be cool because the fact they're finally off a network that's just is always focused on music or selling tickets for them, for that matter. But that being said, like I said, and then Saturday, depending on how Tyler's feeling, we're going to have another episode of the It's From the Pockets, episode number 90. I know we haven't redone one in a very long time because we're still on the road to 100 episodes of the It's From the Podcast. If you guys like All Pro Wrestling Talk, that's the podcast one of the podcasts you want to guys check out. Like I said, we have a playlist of that up, and like I said, there's gonna be we do a lot of different topics. I'm going to talk to Tyler about doing something a little different instead of guess the theme song, because we normally would do that towards the end of the show, just for fun of it, trying to help, and test, and guys, and also anybody that's in the chat, you could also participate in the guess that, or whatever games that we had, the end of the show type of games. You guys could also participate in that as well. So that being said, appreciate us hanging out, and I will see you guys tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite. Good night, everybody.